Well, this was a really unique adventure for both of us. We've been studying mummies for many, many years, and to study mummies that are actually still part of the living culture, and by that I mean we're working on the clan elder's father, right there, and it was very, very unique in that sense. The cultures there, or the peoples, are pretty removed from the world, but globalization is encroaching. The missionaries have been there, so their whole concept of what they're supposed to do with their dead, what they're supposed to do with their traditions, you know, is at a transitional period right now. So there's Gimtazu, the elder of the clan, wants to be mummified. He wants to sit next to his dad up on the cliff. So our task was to go in and try and understand that relationship more, because it's so unique in the world, and to understand the process of mummification. And third, to really help them restore and maintain their mummies that are exhibited, that are not exhibited, but they are placed on the cliff to overlook and protect the village.
And when you say up on the cliff, you literally mean these mummies are looking out over the village up on a cliff. These are not mummies in a sarcophagus in the back of a tomb, buried in a secret location, lost for millennia. These are mummies who sit and watch the everyday goings-on of their children and their children's children down in the village below.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're 1,000 feet up from the village. They're placed on a very prominent part of the cliff face. They look down on the village, so yes, they watch from afar, but they're also taken down from the cliff every once in a while to actually participate in activities in the village itself, to be consulted on various things of import for the village. So they're very much an active part of the ongoing life of the village.
And their role on the cliff is additionally important in that they help mark the territory. This is our rock. This is our stone. The village was called Koke. They have Koke stone, and near as that stone as possible on the cliff is where these are placed, so that if anybody comes and says, this is our land, they say, no, this is our land. Those are our people. Those are our ancestors up there. Fascinating.
So how do they go about creating these mummies? How do they go about taking a person who has passed away and making a mummy who will then be able to watch over them for years to come? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the mummification process is pretty straightforward in the sense that there's not a lot of preliminary body preparation. Like the Egyptians, they had an elaborate pre-mummification, pre-embalming process, a removal of the internal organs. Well, they didn't do that. They did scrub the body with a very bristly brush, but they got a fire going, and they placed them in what would be called a smoking chair, and this is within a hut. So they created a small micro environment. So there's heat, there's smoke, and they help encourage the fluids out of the body by expressing or melting, if you will, the limbs and the body to get these fluids out, which will help stave off decomposition. They actually poke little holes with bamboo knives so that they can get more fluids out of the body. Before they come into the shed, they do use something called an anal spigot. And it's a bamboo pole, a bamboo straw, a large one, and they help remove intestinal fluids using that tool to get past sphincter muscles and help clean out the bowel in that sense, although they don't eviscerate. The smoking process goes on for about 30 days inside this hut with family members continually tending to it, continually expressing, maybe moving the body around a little bit, to the point where it's in a position where it can be displayed by the current practice of display, which seems to be these chairs that they'll build and they'll place them in and mummify. Once they're done, they'll put ochre, clay on them as well as part of the ceremonial, and also we think it has a little bit of protective characteristics to it.
And so it seems all this whole process, it desiccates the mummies.
So while the details are different from how one might mummify somebody in Egypt or in Peru or something like that, the key elements are you've got to get rid of the water and you've got to stop the action of bacteria. Those are the two key elements you have to do in order to stop decomposition. And so the Egyptians achieved that by using the natron. In Peru, it's accomplished by being just in a natural, hot, dry climate with lots of textiles to wick the fluids away from the body. Here, in a very humid environment, they achieve it through the process of smoking the body and as Ron said, the action of expressing the fluids out of the body itself.
And what Andrew was saying is very important, that smoke also serves as a physical barrier against insect infestation, so which is another path of decomposition. So with the smoke, the chemistry of the smoke, stopping the bacteria, dehydrating the body with the expression as well as the warm environment inside the hut in an otherwise very humid place, they also keep insects away, and over time you've got yourself a smoked body.
Now, you were, in addition to seeing how this was done, investigating the process, you also were able, a couple of years ago, 2008, you went to this village and you were able to help to preserve an existing mummy, to basically restore one.
Exactly.
And to discover some techniques that would help the community to basically keep their elders in good shape.
Exactly. Gimtazu again wants to be mummified. He wants to rekindle that excitement about mummification, that part of their tradition. And in order to do that, not only to understand mummification, he needed his father to look better. Plus, he wanted his father to look better, Moimongo. So in preparing for that trip, I thought, well, okay, we'll get some surgical glue and we'll get some mesh we would use in a museum to hold skin together or other things we would need. Then it dawned on me, they will not have access to these materials. So if I can go assess Moimongo, the mummy, determine the problems, make a problem list, the villagers there know their jungle better than anybody. They're going to know where they can find substances that will help me solve the problems of restoration. And I had complete confidence in that. And it worked out. It couldn't have worked out better. I said, okay, the skin is peeling. We need something that'll stick it. Well, we have this stuff called kamaka sap. It's really good. It holds our arrow tips on. We rub it on wounds and insects don't go to it. So it wasn't tissue toxic. It had the adhesive properties we need and it didn't draw insects like some saps might. So they gathered some kamaka sap, we heated it up, tried it out, and that worked wonderfully. Things with local substances like strips of inner bark, they made what's called bush rope to help keep the skin together. Tapa, which is again the pounded inner bark of what we would call a mulberry tree. Beautiful sheet-like stuff we would be able to use to build structures, build patches for the body, build supports where Moimongo was fading. So because of these processes and because of involving the villagers using native products, they were able to continue this process while we're gone. I received several letters since that time saying that, oh, well, this happened and we used one of these techniques and the restoration is continuing. So hopefully, if there's enough enthusiasm in the village, those processes will become part of their practice. About every 3 or 6 months, they'll make an examination, a survey of their mummies, and they'll do their restoration.